So, good afternoon. I will try to, I don't know exactly what you know or don't know about the society, sometimes the tent. And for that, very short, we'll say that the society in Africa is a bit wide society. What is the situation of the church in Africa? Very, very short. And at the end, why the society in Africa? You see, some level for this little conference. Why the society exists? Two reasons. And the first is, the crisis of the church. And the second was in this time an archbishop with the name Bishop Lefebvre, Marcel Lefebvre of France. You understand directly when we talk about the crisis of the church, we touch something very sensible. If it's possible that the church change or not. The teaching of the church can be changed or not. It's a huge and complicated question. I will say very simple, if the teaching of the church today, the same teaching that before the council, yes or no? It's the same teaching. If, I will say very clear, you think it's not change, although no question, the society St. Pius X is in a wrong way. And nobody can follow it. And then you cannot stay here, but rather you must flee from us like the plague. If it's not changing the church, we don't have a reason to be here. You and me too. But perhaps you want to hear some arguments, I don't know. But I will say, I apologize because it's a huge question, and about a lot of complicated questions. Two principles. All the Catholics have the right to receive the true teaching of the Church about faith and morality. You and me, we have the right to receive all the teaching of the Church. That is the first part. The second part, no Catholic has power to judge the authorities in the Church. You understand also very quick. If some Pope, I don't know, council will change something about faith and moral, the situation becomes very complicated for the Catholic. Here we have, of course, questions. It is possible that a Pope or a council teach something against, not for, for the faith. If it's impossible that the Pope and the council say always truth on the right way, no problem. We need to follow without any question. We follow, yes, we do. We need only to be obedient. Not complicated, huh? But we have a text of St. Paul that teaches something very special. He said that in Galatians, only there are some that trouble you. If any people trouble you and would pervert the gospel of Christ, but we, myself, St. Paul, or an angel from heaven preach a gospel to you beside that which we have preached to you, let him be anathema. When myself, St. Paul, I received my mission of God, of Jesus Christ himself, or an angel coming of heaven preached something against what I said to you, what I preached to you, against the gospel of God, let him be anathema. We don't have any contact with him. Although St. Paul was not a pope, but he was one of the first of the apostles. I will say after St. Peter. And we can imagine that St. Paul said something against that. Be careful. Be ready. If somebody teach against that, take him away. Don't have a contact anymore with him. So it seems we can understand that the infallibility of the Pope or the Council too, that need very special condition. We talk about the ex-cathedra condition. Although we say it seems possible that in the authority of the Church, we don't have always the same teaching. Not simple. And at the same time, we cannot judge. Either the Council or the Pope is clear. He received the mission direct of God. Nobody in this earth, you can be cardinal, you can be a bishop, what you want. Nobody has the power to judge the Pope. But if popes of the past say the opposite, that the current Pope, what we can do? Can I choose or not? Understand? Must I simply obey because no question, no reasons I need to follow? But if we follow the higher principle of the right, let's say laws are for the common good, always for the common good. Laws are for the common good. If for good reason it's very difficult to believe, to follow, to understand what you want, that a new law is for the common good, we don't judge. Inside the new law, we can stay in the old law. We don't judge. We say, sorry, we have a problem with two laws. That is the old law, that is the new law. If I follow that, I know I am not in the continuity with this old law. And that is for the common good. I need to follow that. And so that is, we say, the position of our society. First, what is the position of Archbishop Lefebvre? Is not judging the Pope, judging the council, judging what you want. He said, we can judge the teaching, what we hear, what we need are intelligent. God give us the intelligence, we need to understand. If all the Pope say during the 2000 years, the salvation can be only in the Catholic Church. It's clear. We need to be in the Catholic Church to be saved. And after we have hope, we need to respect all the religion, some religion, all the religion come from the wisdom of God. It's a text from 2 years ago from the Pope. If all the religion come from the Holy Ghost, from the wisdom of God, it's true. It's clear, I can follow. You can see. It's opposition. What I need to say, oh, the Pope is the Pope. C'est the pragmatism way. No. Nobody can judge the Pope. We stay with respect, but we don't follow this new teaching, and we stay in the old law. That is the prudence of the church. That is we need to be very careful with what we receive from God. And the Pope, for us, is the sacred vessel. We receive like a gift of God. But the Pope is free too. He can abuse from his power, his title. And if he abuses, we say that is his problem. He will judge us. He will be judged from God, not from us. We need to be more intelligent to understand when two laws are in opposition, we stay always in the old law. That is a law from heaven. Is a common sense law. And that's very important. So you don't have extreme. You don't say that God give the permission. That is no Pope the last 50 years. We can find some people who say that. From the beginning of this change in the church, he said, oh, all these Pope were not Pope. What they say is Pope is a real problem, and we don't follow that. And we stay in the old teaching of the church. That is prudence. That you have here now our principle, our very first big principle of the society. Also during the Council, the Second Vatican Council, we can find a very naval fight between two camps, between bishop and bishop, cardinal and cardinals, especially for three important problems: religious freedom, ecumenism, and collegiality. Collegiality, yes. We need always one conference on all these points. It's not possible here. I want only explain a little bit the situation that we have. Archbishop Lefebvre was present in this council. He was a witness of this faith. More, he participated. He was totally involved in this fight. He stayed with a little group, one more little group of cardinals and bishops to defend, I would say, the traditional teaching of the church in the middle of the council. But it was not a majority. And it was the time of the democracy. If you are the majority, you have the truth. It's not so simple. Jesus Christ in the middle of the doctor of the law, of the priest, with the Sanhedrin. He don't have the majority, but he was the truth. Archbishop also was at the end of the council, can say very true. Of all this situation, he writes to the Pope, he writes to some cardinals, bishops. What is all this principle? But he stay in the silence. He don't write in the newspaper, he don't go before the television camera and what you want to say, what? The situation in the church is crazy, we need to do something. No, he stayed in silence. But something changed in the 70s. Archbishop explained himself. 3 points was for him like, now is too much. I need to do something. That was like a scandal, Swiss scandal. Scandals against the faith, also against the truth, against the church. First, the new mass. The second, new catechism. And the third, a big change in the Curia in Rome. We'll try to explain very short this point. In one of his conferences in 73, he explained, for example, the problem of the catechism. You know, the catechism is the creed, if you want. The explanation of the creed. If I give you a catechism with some poison, you will drink that and will be poisoned. And if you are a father, you can allow this. It's not possible. He said that there you are able to judge for yourself. We can judge catechism if this catechism is the same that I received when I was youth, for example. I was young. What is from the catechism which had been given to you? It can be said in reality that all the new catechisms depend more or less in a direct line of the Dutch catechism. After the council was the first catechism right from bishop in Holland. It is the same modernist spirit, the same spirit of novelties, which reigns in the catechism which were made recently. However, this Dutch catechism was examined by a commission of cardinals, which formally condemned 10 important fundamental points of our faith. It was clear. In this catechism was point against the faith, destroying the faith. And he asked the Bishop of Holland to change, to modify the paragraph. All what was wrong needed to be changed, of course. This paragraph have not been changed. Also, the work of these cardinals was for nothing. Rome don't say nothing. The Pope said nothing against this catechism, destroying the faith. And the Archbishop gave the example in the Canadian Catechism, reflection on the rupture. It's correct? Rupture. You understand? Rupture. You understand the word? To break. The rupture is to break something. Rupture. Well, in this catechism, it is in fact only a question of rupture, of liberation for the children. The child must free himself. The child must cause breaks with his parents. That the children say, oh, you parents, you are old-fashioned, I am not interested anymore. With his family, a break with the past, a break with tradition, a break with society, in such a way that he takes on his personality. So far, he breaks, the children break with his own parents, family, society, all what you want. That is the most important, to develop his own personality. As long as he is in these bounds which enclose him, he cannot make his personality blossom. That was the teaching of the New Catechism. It's destroyed. It's destroying all. Destroying the four commandments. If some priest, if I teach something so to your children, what do? You take out your children. You don't want that your children drink this poison. And all over the world, almost all the parents follow the movement. The Archbishop said, it's not possible. We stay in the old catechism. We don't make a new catechism. We stay with the traditional catechism of the church. For the new mass, you know, one more is a big question. For the Archbishop, his judgment was clear, simple. But I said there is a tendency to make the sacrifice a simple circle, a meal. We want to assimilate it more and more to a meal and less to the sacrifice. That is the new Mass. The best proof of this is that we now come to celebration which in many cases just look like a meal. It's no more an altar, it's a table for a meal. That changed a lot, but the position of our life changed totally. The sacrifice is a place where God Himself died. The table is a place where we can eat with God. That changed all the relation. With God, after, is only friend relation. This spirit of the new Mass destroys the spirituality of the church. The spirituality of the church is totally central in the altar, because in the altar is the sacrifice of Christ. If we change this, the direction, and we come to celebrate more and more the humanity, to be together, to eat together something. What you want? The big problem, but I hear when I come back from Switzerland, a bishop said that to one of our priests. The bishop and the priests in our country, in Switzerland, don't believe anymore in the real presence. They don't believe anymore. He was always in the meal. It's not so important. It's like the Protestant meal. The Protestant cell is empty. And they lose the faith. It's impressive, the consequences of this new mass. And the Archbishop see that totally. He don't say he's invalid, but he say he's a huge problem in this new mass that will be destroying the faith of a lot of Catholics. And in fact, it was the reality. In this time, 65 to 75, 70,000 priests left the priesthood. 70,000 priests. That is a big change. It is a big change. And although it's a big question with the new mass. I want to be very short. And the third change, very important too, is always the faith was the central principle of our religion. Without faith, it's not possible to have a charity, to have any virtue. The faith is the North Pole star that gives direction. And for that, the most important congregation in Rome was always a congregation of faith, doctrine of faith, propaganda of faith. It changed during the last centuries, sometimes the name, but it was always the most important congregation in Rome. And Paul VI changed that. He changed with the congregation of states. Congregation of state was more for the relation. You understand directly the distinction. Before, faith was the most important. Now, diplomacy becomes the most important. We have now the beautiful example in America. The bishops in America ask Rome, what is important to do with the politicians? They are promote the abortion, for example. We can give a communion or not. The answer comes not from the congregation of faith, but from the diplomacy, congregation of state. And they say, we need to find a solution. Right? We need to discuss, to find compromise. Diplomacy is compromising. Faith is not compromising. Faith is faith. And that this change all the politic of the Vatican. You can see, follow the politic with China. It's a beautiful scandal. It's first to have good relation with this communist government in China. They destroy the Christianity. They destroy the good Catholic. It's not the problem. We have good relation. The consequence of this sweet change was so important that was the drop too much. Archbishop said, now I need to do something. I cannot stay so. And we said that this is the beginning. At the same time, 70s, is the beginning of the Society St. Pius X. And before, the blessing of the bishop in Switzerland, the Bishop of Fribourg, to begin a new society. Last year, the 8th December, was the jubilee of the 50 years of the beginning of the society. Also, will be a danger that Archbishop Lefebvre begin a new society to fight against the heroes. It was not the style. The spirit of the church of Archbishop is absolutely beautiful. We need to fight against the communism, against the new mass, what you want. No. We need to come back in the priesthood of Jesus Christ. That is the fundament of our society. The society's purpose is the priesthood and all that pertains to it, and nothing but what concerns it. The priesthood of our Lord Jesus Christ will, in when he said, do this for a commemoration of me. To come in the head of the church, the idea was not to fight, but to develop this idea of the priesthood of Jesus Christ, to follow simple Jesus Christ as priest. Beautiful idea. You know, that is, we should not a revolutionary. We need to fight against the... No. We need to follow only the spirit of Jesus Christ. That is so a beautiful spirit. That is what changed all. That is something positive. After we need perhaps to defend this idea, this principle. But in the middle, the cornerstone is this principle, to follow the priesthood of Jesus Christ. Yes, now the reason that is not to fight against modernism or something else. Very simple, but very deep too. That is also, you understand now? Beginning, situation in the church, also reaction of Archbishop to make a new society with the blessing of the church. Without this blessing, Archbishop Lefebvre wanted not to begin something. Now we need is to understand, and in this time, the situation of the church in Africa is very complicated too, because it's not the same that we know in Europe, for example, or in America. The crisis of the church is not the same. You can, there's something very simple. Europe, few vocations. Africa, plenty. I come from Nigeria. You can find a seminary with 1,000 seminaries. Plenty. Europe, all the seminaries closed, almost. You can see the account about that. The number is very terrible. But in Africa, a huge growing. In Europe, empty churches. In Africa, full. I was very impressed when the first time I come in Africa, was in the cathedral of in Cameroon, not in the capital, but in the south. I forgot the name of the city. In the ocean, not important. It was 5 o'clock in the morning. Way of cross. The cathedral was full. You can imagine that in Europe. No, it's possible. The people are really seeing. You can see also the crisis of the church is not the same. That is the same crisis here too. And he come, we say, from Saint Bishop, I will say the words, I don't want to judge him, but he do a lot of bad things. He was the Archbishop Denis Hurley from Durban, in South Africa. South Africa come very quick, very modernist, much quick that the older Africa, I will say the black Africa if you want. And through this bishop, a lot of bishops of these times, in the 60s, 70s, is a time of huge complex from some authorities in the church, You know, the colonialism of the church. Huh? Interesting. And I'm sure you hear something about that. The hard work of communism to develop this complex. It's very weird that this complex developed to the bishop, because the church received one guarantees truth and power from Jesus Christ himself. Why? Suddenly this huge complex. If we have the blessing of God to go all over the world to preach His words, His gospel, not our. It's not possible to have a complex, because this word, this gospel comes from God Himself. But in this time, with this modernism spirit, everybody become judge. We say judges of God Himself. My opinion, my conscience is not the most important, not the revelation, not the law of God. And this opinion, that make the bishop incomplex. I need to respect all your opinion. If you want to choose that is your problem. But God sent the apostle like a shepherd, and shepherd need to lead, to give, hey, come with me. I know a good field, a good grass. It's not to say, oh, please go here and here, eat what you want. And that is typical, the spirit after the conceived. Do what you want. Follow your conscience. And the first job of a good shepherd is to protect against the wolves. This is Pius XII, the Pope Pius XII, a beautiful word about this. The first job of the shepherd is to protect all the sheep against the devil. It's so simple. But no. Respect. what you want. And it's the beginning that very interesting. That is few times before the council, which is the first book. It's in French. Les prêtres noirs s'interrogent. I think it's the black priest asking themselves about the situation in Africa. A very interesting book with the Archbishop write the preface of this book. And we are at this time like this, I would say this, the same spirit that we receive in all the country, that we receive the evangelization. And we see this traditional theology say to the salvation of the infidels, pagans. You need to convert you to change your life and to come to Christ, to receive the law of Christ. That is, all the nations receive this teaching. And we'll say, Africa too, through the missionaries, they receive this teaching. Was normal. But in this time was a little bit I think this word complex is the good word. Why we need to receive from white priests, if you want, the teaching of Jesus Christ. We need to receive direct of Christ. Because the white priest, if you want, they have their own habits from Europe, from America. From Europe is a lot of difference too. But we are not interested for that. We have our own culture. It's true, but not so simple. And this book for that is very interesting because he tried to find some solution to develop Christianity in Africa, in the same time to respect the African culture. I don't have any problem with that. So far, it's always in the respect of the authorities. And the bishop, Archbishop Lefebvre said, good, fine. I have some thoughts about that. It's very important to develop something, no problem. It's good. But after the council, he don't have anymore the protection of the authorities. The authorities say, oh, follow your conscience. Do what you want. Read the gospel with your culture. And that was the beginning of a huge abuse. I will say first, the liturgy is sacrality. You know, that is the beginning from dances during the liturgy, boom, and all the things. I think you know that. When I talk with people, they come from the new mass, everybody knows that. Women in the choir, girls as servants. What for me was I was always impressed was the lack of cleanness. When I see the young boy, he comes from sometimes from the slum here. And it's not very clean, the slum. When you come the water and all the things, the dirty, what you want. When they come, you are always clean. But for the church, go sometime in the sacristy. of this church. My goodness. Terrible. I see that in a lot of countries. In Tanzania, in Nigeria. They don't believe anymore. It's not possible. If you believe that God lives here, you cannot stay so. The altar is so dusty. The altar clothes almost black. Terrible. And the sacristy, the vestment of the priest, in the dusty too. Very impressive. How these people believe that Jesus Christ is in the middle. It's not possible. So you see, it's not the African culture. I don't believe. And to begin with this spirit to do what you want, the freedom with all the principle of the church, of the liturgy of the church, that destroy the sacrality in Africa. That is a very important point for the crisis in the church in Africa. Coming in Switzerland, the church are empty, nobody prays, but all is clean. The crisis is very different. And you see, in Africa, it's very impressive to see that. Make your experience if you want. Go, look, what is the cleanness of the altar? If you believe that the priest can stay in a so dirty place for his Savior, it's not possible. It's not possible. And second point, very important too, is, I see there's a lot of vocation in Africa. Because to be priest is a huge privilege in Africa. The priest is a little bit the king of the village. If I become priest, very important. In Europe, it's the opposite. You become a priest of the society, you're the most stupid man. Crazy. You lose your future. You lose to have a beautiful woman. To be married and know what you want. It's crazy to be priest in Europe today. In Africa, not too bad. The priest of my parish in Switzerland, he is from Cameroon. So he was, because now he's back in Cameroon. But he received a lot of money. In Switzerland, to be priest in my parish was something between $4,000 and $5,000 per month. When he come back in Cameroon, he built for himself a beautiful house. He's the king of the village. But I am not sure that is the spirit of Jesus Christ. You see the difference? And it's a huge problem in Africa. A lot of vocation, but a lot of vocations are interested to be priests for this privilege. And that is not good for the church in Africa. To develop the spirit of Jesus Christ in Africa. To develop the Catholic Church in Africa. And one point to do is it's important too because the bishop in Africa received a lot of money of the St. Diocese from Germany especially, America sometimes. They are a very rich country, and you know that who pays is the boss. And the bishop in Germany, for example, Switzerland too, all these They are very modernist, and they make pressure for that. He wants that Africa change in the same spirit, and that is for a long time. But beginning in the council. So, we have here 3 points we can find. Another point that I think that is, for me, my judgment and opinion, is the most important. But that make that in Africa you have two big crises of the church. After you can find problem with the morality, you can find problem with a lot of things that come from, no, this problem of faith developed through all this, we say for me, the lack of sacrality is very terrible in Africa. Also, why the society come in Africa after that? And we say always the same process. Disappointed, faithful. Hear about this special bishop, Archbishop Lefebvre. This bishop don't accept all the reform and keeps the tradition. And two countries in Africa begin to asking for priests saying the old mass and preaching all the principle of faith and moral. South Africa, Zimbabwe. Why? Because in this country was the worst. They were the worst for the modernism in this country. In the country. That was very more urgent, if you want, to do something. After Gabon, after here, Kenya, at least Nigeria, was asking for priests too. That, I will say, few people, very few people in Nigeria, for example, here too, was not a little group of between 5 and 10 people. And in the society, in the authority of the Society St. Pius X, it was a huge hope for this country. He was thinking, if we come in Nairobi, for example, we begin the Old Mass, to say the Old Mass, a lot of people will come. I think it was some ingenuity, some naive. It's not so simple. Because, one more, in Africa, that is a difference too with Europe. It's difficult to disobey to the bishop. When the bishop said, be careful, you, if you go to the St. Pius priest, I condemn you. That is not easy in Africa to say, oh, what's the bishop? I'm not interested. That is in Europe, so. Because the bishop makes a lot of abuse, he loses the faith. What we can do with this? In Africa, it's not so simple. It's a big pressure, I know that. He's not bad himself. But that was very difficult to develop. Our parish, we say, in this country, and in all the countries that we are, Tanzania, Cameroon, for example, it's very difficult. Small groups, very, I would say, painful to develop something. And a big problem too is for a lot of Africans, it's enough to have a good priest, to see a priest that he respects the sacrality of the liturgy, for example. To have a good priest for sacrament. And here I will say, we have a big problem between the society and the Africans. If, you know, because we are in the situation of the church, we need to work with faithful, with people that they understand the crisis in the church. Because without that, we say, you come here, you receive the sacrament, you go to confession, all what you need, catechism, and you go back, and we say, for you it's nice. But today, it's not only the crisis in the church is not only your problem, it's the problem of your country. It's the problem of the church himself. And the society need to find family faithful with the same spirit. To fight for the faith. To understand the problematic of the eras now, the modernist eras in the church. Is capital. Without that, you live a little bit in parallel. It's like two parents. You can have a family. The father looks for the food, and the mother for the education from the house. That is not good family. Good parents need to be together, to be married, of course, and to do all things together. The parallel life in the marriage destroy the marriage. Well, I don't say that you need to be married with the society, but only to understand the spirit. We need to work with the same spirit. It's not only your salvation, it's the salvation of a lot of faithful souls in Kenya, in Africa, in the world. For that we need to have good vocation. And the good vocation comes from good family. And to understand the duty for a young man, young girl, that he will receive this spirit through the parish, of course, but through the family too. We need to find in your parish people they want to fight for Jesus Christ all over the world. If you don't understand that, I think it will be difficult to develop something. But I am sure you understand that. We are a little group. But this poor little group is carrying the principle of the church, all the truths of the church, of the beauty of the church. You can see, you have young people singing the Gregorian. It's a treasure that you carry today. Who can give that today? Only you. You receive that from a priest, and after you can carry that and give for the next generation. You are now in the tradition. That is only the piece of the Gregorian, but it's the same for the catechism, for the Catholic education, Catholic schools. All the things are together. And for that we need to have to work together. And we need you, you need us. It's very important. And for that, I think I was happy to have the possibility to talk to you. I go now in all this black country in Africa, and I say to myself, stay here in your country, develop here in your country your religion. It's not the youth sometimes dream to go in Europe, in America, I don't know where, to have a beautiful life. I say the same in South Africa because we lose a lot of faithful. You are thinking us that the country come bad and worse. We need to do something. And what for the next generation? What is the future for the Africa if all the youth go out of the country? You know, we have a treasure. We need to stay with this treasure and to give this treasure to the next generation, and to prepare the next generation to receive this treasure. Also, that is my wish for your parish, that your beautiful country will receive this treasure, truth, your example, truth, your prayer, truth, your beautiful families. That was what I want to say. Thank you very much. Now it's enough. You are angry, and we too. All the best.
Dio e Padre che ti chiede di santiamente. Gloria a Dio.